true greatness today. You know, I cannot believe I'm about to say this. I have been in this industry for 25 years, first of all, holy crap. But secondly, this is the first time I'm ever interviewing the one man who's probably made the greatest impact on my internet marketing entrepreneurial career ever. We all know him. He doesn't need an introduction. Mr. Jeff Walker himself. Jeff, man, thanks for being here. Thanks for everything you do. I can't believe how long we've been in the space. It's first thing. I think you truly have to love it to be in it this long. Like it's not possible any other way. All right, so Jeff, before I let you talk, I got to give this story. I got to talk about this story, not just for people watching, but for you. I don't think I've ever had a chance to tell you this. So I was just getting started. I was like maybe making a little bit of money here and there, kind of, found my way to ablake.net forum, like way back in the day. And old school, man, old school, where Marlon Sanders would haggle me. And I'm sitting in college and I'm trying to figure out this like ebook selling ClickBank world. And in comes this traffic course, right? And that was my problem. And I couldn't afford it, but I watched this launch go down, and then John Reese does $1 million day, and it was like the earth moved, like everything I understood about what I could dream and the realities of so many people, right? And I never bought the program, but because I just didn't have $1,000 at that time, but I remember I don't think the program itself could have delivered the value that just the success of the program did for me, like mentally and psychologically. And then, John comes out and is like, well, I learned all of this from the one and only Jeff Walker. And I was like, what the heck is Jeff Walker guy? Like, what? Like, what's going on over here? And we turn over to you, I turn to learn from you, and I don't know how many product launches I've done. I mean, and I've since gone on to create, my own formulas and everything, but they're always anchored in the original teachings of Product Launch Formula 25 years later. And it's just made, I think this whole industry was built off of this. And something that you'll laugh about, so everyone who's watching right now, I'm not making any of this up. Like, if you have an opportunity to join us at WebinarCon just to come meet and learn from Jeff, this is wisdom and psychology that has stood the test of time through all kinds of industry cycles, good, bad, ugly, whatever, it doesn't matter. The psychology and the baseline works. And so I was so excited because I started doing this webinar launch model where I would do like multiple webinars, and we do the 3 webinar model, and that was awesome. And then we noticed something, and you're going to laugh at this. So we would do these evergreen funnels where people enter, they join the webinar, and then we do the replay and send a few follow-ups and then close it. One of my team members one time like 5 years ago comes to me and says, do you realize that on the last day of our funnel, which is only 7 or 8 days in, and we're driving from paid traffic, we're still getting 30-40% open rates on our emails? I was like, really? He's like, yeah. I was like, that's interesting. Like, why are they still opening? We're not getting that many sales. So it made us scratch our head. We're like, well, they're still interested. Should we just keep talking to them? Like, maybe we shouldn't end the launch or the promo in 7 days and just like, I don't know, log more emails. And then we're like, what do we do? And I'm like, I don't know. So we just took the same webinar and split it up into 3 videos. And we have since been lovingly calling that the reverse PLF. It's the terminology we use, and we call it reverse PLF because we put the PLF behind the offer. And Jeff, it increased our evergreen webinar sales by 30%. 30%. Like my traffic team won't even run a webinar to evergreen to like paid traffic unless the reverse PLF is there, because it's that big of a difference. So anyways, man, thank you. I wanted to start off this by just saying thank you for all that you do and all that you have done, and the teaching and the education. And of course, thank you for coming and being a speaker at WebinarCon. I'm super excited about that. So with that said, I will finally let you talk because it's about you, not me. But Jeff, yeah, take it away, man. What's going on in the world of launches, and what have you seen over so many decades at this point?
Well, first of all, thanks for that introduction. And dude, it's great to connect with you after, I don't know when the last time we saw each other, but it was, I'd say at least 15 years ago.
Easily.
I mean, it's, I love this business. I love this industry. I love what we get to do. I love that we get to just to write our futures when we're putting together a webinar or a launch or a promotion, and we get to help so many others do it. And then just to talk to someone that's been in this for so long and has seen all of this, it's so cool. I am really stoked about WebinarCon. I have never been there. I've heard amazing things. It everything I've heard says this is like old school in terms of, these days so many events are built 100% to convert into a high ticket, which frankly I got no problem with. I love it. I love those events. But like this is just an old school event of people who are really in the trenches doing the work, getting together and sharing what's really going on. And that's,
Here's what Ron and I pride ourselves on. We barely make any money from WebinarCon. Like we just, it's a total passion project. It's just
a labor
fun.
of love. It's a labor of
It's
love.
a labor of love.
That's
yeah,
what I've heard.
It's just fun. All the top hitters come out, and
Right.
we just have a great time for a few days. And so it's just become kind of, that's what it is. And Ron and I sat and we talked about like, how do we turn this into a big business model? And both of us were like, let's just leave it alone. Let's just let it do what it does. Like we like it like this. It's fun.
Well, the strategic byproducts of getting a bunch of really smart people together who are willing to share, in both in terms of tactics and strategies, but also in terms of, lifting each other up. Because at the end of the day, this is a lonely business. We're all sitting in front of a computer making shit up on our own, and to be around other people and get jacked up, it's awesome, and to learn what's working right now. So yeah, I mean, and what my perspective is, there in the olden days there was two main conversion mechanisms. There was PLF and there was webinars. So product launch formula and webinars. And frankly, I'm in the PLF world, and webinars was not, it's just I didn't have time to do it. But that was then, that was 15 years ago. And what I personally have seen is the two have come together, just like what you said with your reverse PLF. They're two different conversion mechanisms, and people respond differently. And so I love, and we've been doing this, we bring people in on a webinar, and if that doesn't work, we run them through PLF. If we run them through the other, and we'll do the other way. We'll run them through PLF, and if that doesn't work, we'll run them through a webinar. And then of course there's a question like, what the hell is a webinar? Like, actually, I'd love to hear your definition of what's a webinar. Because like there's live broadcasts, there's live events, there's workshops, there's straight up, slide based. It's all
Sure.
over.
Yeah. It's interesting. That's a really good question, because I was on this training, I think it was yesterday actually, with one of our like Webinar Mastery Academy members. So this is a program Jason Fladley and I have. And I got into this like whole conversation with one of our members. Now you got to understand, this person's like in our Webinar Mastery program, like they've been through our training, and she's asking about conversion numbers, like, hey, show rate, this, that, stick rate, conversion. And so I start giving her all the data that I have from the Evergreen webinar side. And then she starts telling me some numbers on her side. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense. Go to find out what she's truly talking about is just a VSL. And I was joking with her. I'm like, get out of this call. Like that's not a webinar. Like, what she was really doing was taking people to an opt-in page, and then after they opted in, taking them to like an extended long video, which, by the way, I love that funnel. I'm in the middle of launching one next week. I just wouldn't call that a webinar funnel. In my mind, that's a VSL funnel. It's a book a call funnel or whatever. So I believe a webinar is a long form 1 to 2 hour presentation that has got substantial content, that does a good job teaching something, and then it makes an offer. And for the most part, it's delivered in what I would call a controlled environment. It doesn't have to be live, but typically if you're using Evergreen, it's kind of like you are present and you are going to sit through that instance. Now, Jason and I are, for the first time, violating our own rule for our own offer, and we're giving that webinar in a kind of a long form video. Just watch it. Because for us, we're like, well, our target demographic are people who do webinars. And weirdly enough, people who do webinars don't watch webinars. So it's just a side thing. For example, I've taught email marketing for 20 years, and the worst way to get a hold of me is email. So you should text me. So, but we're trying that and seeing how it goes. But I think masterclasses, workshops, to many degrees, even like a summit, like an online summit. Those to me are like they're webinars in kind of a different format and shape. I've seen webinars. I've done webinars really well that had no slides, had a scribble pad and me on camera. I've done webinars with nothing but slides. They both work. I think for that, it really is more important is like, what's the message, your ability to deliver the message, and you, right? Like the person delivering it, it matters. So that's my very long definition to a very short question.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, and I think in the old days it was slides. People thought if you weren't using slides, it wasn't a webinar. But now, the way my world, Anik, when we started PLF in the olden days, we had email. That was like our only tool. Right. And then we had like blogs. It was like, oh my gosh, we could actually publish a page that was, to update people on things. And then it was social. And then it was ugly screen cap eventually. And there was a moment where audio was a thing, and then ugly screen cap, and then ugly video. And then we started using cinematic video. And I know you went real deep into cinematic video. I remember that.
Yeah, made a
Like
breaking
real
movie.
cinematic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I played James Bond.
I remember
Doesn't get
that.
any better than
I
that.
remember that. When was
Yeah.
that? That must have been like in
It was like
2012 or something.
13, 14 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah,
That's,
yeah. And then what we pivoted to doing live, our launches were delivered completely live. And then I think it started to feel a little bit webinar-like. And when I say we in my business for our launches, because we eat our own cooking and we use our formula, and that was perfect, set us up perfectly for the pandemic because we were already doing full out live launches with live broadcasts. But what's really working for us in the last year is we went back to nice, beautiful cinematic video in real tight, very, very tight videos, 3-4 minutes that were bingeable, that were consumable. And the whole idea, so product launch formula for those out there, it's generally 3 pieces of content where you're selling in either the third piece or the fourth piece. So what we did was we went with really tight, bingeable cinematic video for PLC, for product launch, for PLC 1 and 2, your first 2 pieces of pre-launch content. And the whole entire goal of those was to get show up on the third one, which was a live broadcast where we made an offer. And that very much was a webinar. That third one was a webinar, but it was all about building the entire launch to spend several days driving to that live broadcast / webinar. And that's where we've been having success in the last year.
That's incredible. That's brilliant. I love it. Yeah, because one of the things that you hear the most about in the webinar game, right, are people complaining about show rates. And I've always said, hey, you can get a show rate, but you need to continue modifying what you're doing to get the people there. So what I used to do 10 years ago was say, I'm doing a webinar, and then a bunch of people would show up. And it's like, oh, cool, right? And like today, that's just not enough. You got to work the room. You've got to get them excited about your webinar. And so one of the things I do, but I like what you're saying, is so I created this concept 5 years ago. I call it the homework video. It's really just like a pre-training. It's usually like a case study or something that creates excitement. And so every time they register for the webinar, the other thing is like we have a few days where we have something to show them rather than just keep saying, we have a webinar, we have a webinar, we have a webinar. So I created this video, which is like, but mine are usually like 15, 20 minutes. But I love the idea of kind of launching your webinar, right? They come in and then you kind of use the PLF psychology to get them excited about that final event. That's incredible. The core psychology, though, Jeff, my assumption is still stands, right?
Yeah,
25 years later.
I mean, you've been in this game long enough to know it is the same core. It's story, it's the mental triggers, and I'm always about a sequence. So that first 2 PLCs, it's really 3 lessons. PLC 1 is the first lesson, and then the PLC 2 is the second lesson. It's all building towards the third lesson. It's that whole Cigarnik effect, right? Where they just, okay, we've gone through 2 lessons. We want that third lesson. So it's not like the live broadcast / webinar / where we make the offer. It's not like we're giving you this warm-up stuff. It's like that is just the logical third piece that they have to show up to see how it all fits together.
I love it. All right. Well, everyone, that's about as much Jeff Walker as I'm going to let you have for the moment. So you want to come meet him, you got to come to WebinarCon. We cannot wait. It's going to be an epic, epic talk. By the way, if you're on my Facebook profile looking at this, if you want a small sampling of just the room of speakers we've put together, scroll down. Look, it's incredible. This is our best webinar. This is WebinarCon that we've ever done. It's our 6th one, so that's a lot to say. The other thing I want to say that's incredible about this room that is very unique, because I go to events all the time, is our speakers, they don't talk and then run away to the green room or go sneak into their rooms upstairs and hide. Like, everyone hangs out. They're all there. They're accessible because of the quality of the room in general anyways. I've always said that most of the attendees that come to WebinarCon are the people that I would be happy to watch on stage speaking. Like, that's the level of quality in the room. So you still have a little bit of time to grab a ticket. Now, you have 2 options. Go to webinarcon.com and pay the full price. If that's what you'd like to do, we'd love to take your money. Or reach out to me. Send me a personal message on any platform. I mostly check Facebook. Don't email me, as we talked about earlier. I've got a discount that you can get. But you've got very little time. So book yourself, come out, come see Jeff, come hang out with Jeff, come learn from him, and we're going to be asking him about all the latest cutting edge changes and how it is that he's using the PLF style to get people to show up to the webinar. That's the number one thing I hear about, is webinar show rate. Jeff, anything you want to say for closing words?
No, I'm just really stoked to be. Like I said, I've never been to WebinarCon, but I've heard amazing things from from Jason, from Rich Sheffrin, from just people who they have a very high bar of what they think is good, and they've been raving about it. So I'm super stoked.
And both of them will be there too, which is partly what we love. Actually, it's funny, the reverse PLF was partly inspired by Rich Sheffrin, because him and I were doing this podcast interview, and he just randomly mentioned something that made me go, pfft, and I'm like, why haven't I thought about this in 20 years? He goes, hey, just because someone signs up for a webinar doesn't mean they actually like to watch a webinar. And I'm like, but they signed up for it. And he goes to me and he goes, well, Anik, do you like watching webinars? I'm like, not really. He goes, would you watch a podcast? I'm like, I watch them all the time. And he goes, what about a stage talk? If someone gave a message on a stage, would you watch it? I said, yeah, I do that. He goes, so what if you just took your webinar and put it in a podcast form, or put it in a stage form, put it in a video form, put it in a transcript, put it in a written PDF? Everyone likes to consume content different ways. Everyone's in a different walk of their life. And that was what made me go, holy crap, you're right. Like, there's no reason that this content needs to be only delivered through a webinar. It's proven to work. It's proven to provide value and convert. Let's try it in other formats. The easiest thing for us to do at that time was just to go to the reverse PLF, because our webinars are kind of already made off of the whole story content, pitch. But then after that, like right now, we're working on this with our investor pitch for Agentic AIs. We're creating a podcast interview. We're creating all these different ways that people can consume that content. And that was just through this little random side talk I was having with Rich. So guys, this is the kind of conversations you have at this event. It's at next level. I'm just telling you right now, if you're like, hey, how do I make money? How do I get my business started? WebinarCon's not right for you, because all the conversations are going to be at another level in that room. So Jeff, thank you. See you here in a couple of weeks. To the rest of you, you know what to do. And